Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimte Jhatak Swaminati Namne Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaur-katha Dhamdaya Nagar-gram Tarini Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshtarne Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So go to the chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute. Yes, go to the next slide. So we are having an overview. We have finished 6 chapters of the 18 chapters. This is, we're going to see what each set of 6 chapters, they're divided into 3. So the first 6 chapters we have completed, and mostly it was Karma Yoga. We saw how Krishna was asking Arjuna to work in devotion. And then that leads to meditation of Krishna in Bhakti Yoga. Okay, and then, of course, also we did Ashtanga Yoga. That also leads to meditation of Krishna, and Jnana Yoga also. But mostly it was about Karma Yoga. And then middle 6 chapters, now we are going to see it's completely Bhakti Yoga. Knowledge of Krishna and our relationship with him. Why is it kept in the middle? Because always most precious, valuable things are always kept in a protected and safe place. So this Bhakti is the center of our lives. And so the middle 6 chapters give us complete knowledge of Bhakti. And the last 6 chapters is Jnana Yoga, material nature and how we are delivered from it. So this is the overview of the 18 chapters. Next slide. Okay, so first verses 1 to 7. 1 to 3, we are going to see how to always think of Krishna within oneself. Krishna is so kind that he is helping us. He told us how meditating on him, the best of all yogis. So when we think of Krishna within ourselves, that's very purifying. So here in this verses 1 to 7, he's explaining how he is the, how we can always think of Krishna. He's talking about himself. He explains how he is the origin of everything, material and spiritual, because he knows that we are living in the material world and we can see only material things. So Krishna is helping us see him even in material things. Okay, next slide. So how to be Krishna conscious, always thinking about him. So these are the questions. How to have our mind attached to Krishna. This is the first verse of the 7th chapter, where he says, how to practice yoga in full consciousness of him. How to know him completely without a doubt. So this is remembering him is what Krishna has told us. Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So we shouldn't have any doubt. Krishna is not just a concept or an imagination and so on. Then what happens? We don't have enough faith, even though theoretically we may understand Krishna. So by understanding this knowledge, we will be able to remove all our doubts about him. And Srimad Bhagavatam verse, so how do we learn about Krishna? Simply by hearing from Krishna about himself. Tat Shrunu is saying you can asamshayam samagram. See, now here, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So how can we do that? by hearing from Krishna. Simply by hearing from Krishna about himself, we'll be able to do that. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Shrinvatam Swakatam Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridi Antastohi Abhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. So by hearing, about the pastimes of Krishna, Shrinvatam Swakatam Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, then whatever is very, disturbing to the mind, to the heart, is all removed. And then Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. When we listen to Bhagavata every day, then all that is disturbing to the heart is completely removed. And one says, Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. And then devotion in the heart is aroused. So all these verses are talking about how the importance of hearing about Krishna. Then we can always think about him. Yeah, next slide. What is this knowledge and who can know it? This Krishna says it's complete knowledge because it has knowledge of the phenomenal world and the spirit behind it and the source of both of them. So the spiritual aspect of this world, the material aspect, and who is the origin of both of them. So this knowledge is not just knowledge of the soul of the Jnanis, because we know Jnana Yoga, we saw that Jnanis know about that we are not the body and we are the soul. But this knowledge is about Krishna and how he is controlling everything. So this is more advanced knowledge. Even perfected yogis or Jnanis cannot understand Krishna. Only a rare soul knows Krishna in truth. But still, Krishna is beginning to explain it. So in 7.3, he says, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So it's very, very rare to know Krishna. But still, Krishna is kindly explaining to us about him. Yes, next. Hearing of knowledge is descending process. Because normally what happens, how do we get the knowledge that we learn in our schools and colleges, in universities? It is all research knowledge, and it is especially science. It's built upon somebody discovers something and then more things are added to it. And in this way, we have a big body of knowledge. So this is ascending process. Science works to some level by discovering what already exists. So they've not created anything. They're just studying what already exists. Senses are imperfect and limited, can only perceive matter. So the knowledge is not complete. What Krishna is giving is both material knowledge and the spirit behind it and the controller of both. Whereas through scientific research, we can only perceive matter. Tendency to commit mistakes. We know that newer research that refutes the previous one. Constantly, they, coming up with newer and newer researchers which refute what was there earlier. So many theories we know from the right from the shape of the earth and about the planetary system. So many things, constantly newer things. Oh, one more planet is added, or like this to their knowledge. So they are learning through mistakes. Because we have a tendency to commit mistakes, the senses are imperfect. And based on humans who have limitations, we have cheating propensity and being illusioned. How is this cheating propensity? See, Darwin created a theory. It was mere speculation that we are descendant from the apes. And sometimes, just like the giraffe, it got a long neck because it was trying to eat from the tall trees. And so these kind of theories. And then he said how bodies evolved from lower species to higher species. The body itself changes. So all these are speculation. Where did he have any such examples? But so once, but everybody accepts that theory, and when they found evidences against that, they found that because Darwin said that earlier, we were evolved from apes. So earlier periods are only apes and all low forms of life everywhere. But then the archaeologists also discovered highly evolved skeletons, from a very distant times, which were supposed to be only inhabited by apes. And they've hidden all these things because that goes against their theory. So like that, this cheating propensity is there. So we can never come to know the real truth. Or even, UFOs are coming, unidentified foreign objects, they've seen spaceships and all that, but they always hide it because their theory is that in the entire universe, there's nobody else, only we are living in this earth, and everything is there only for us, So, but the fact is, they have seen people coming from other planetary systems and they are hiding this truth. So that is why. And then we are imperfect, so we have to consult perfect source for making a decision. And Lord and his incarnations are free from imperfections. The Vedas have all originated from the Lord himself. And so we have to receive that knowledge from in parampara from Krishna in the descending process. Okay, that is why he says here rather than just try to research and find out who's the source of everything. Yes, next. Krishna's material energies. So he, summarizes his entire material energy. What are the elements of it? Earth, water, fire, air, ether are the gross elements. And then the subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and false ego. This is what the body is made up of. These are the 8 elements. Yeah, please go to the next one. So then this from these first gross elements plus their sense objects. For example, earth means earth has fragrance. The element of earth, that is the mud and the sand we see outside, that is a component of our body also. And that earth, what is the sense object connected with it? Fragrance. Because the earth is the one which has got a variety of fragrances. We take seeds of a rose or a jasmine and then we put it in the ground. The seed does not have any fragrance. The water does not have any fragrance, but the plant, the roses develop such unique fragrances. So that is all coming from the earth. Then water we know is coming from Krishna, but the taste, and that is also, that is the object of the senses. The taste is coming from water, and the fire form. Only because of the fire we can see some form. Otherwise, it's completely dark. And air, because of air, we have the touch sensation. And ether, we have sound. Because through space, we have this sound which travels through space, and we are able to hear far distances also. So sound travels through ether. So these are the sense objects. So if you combine these 5 gross elements with their senses, that makes it 10. Then add it to the subtle elements of intelligence, mind, and false ego, make it a total of 13 material elements. Then added to them are 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 working senses. So knowledge acquiring senses are the eyes, the nose, the ears, the tongue, and the touch. That is the 5 knowledge acquiring, and 5 active senses are hands, legs, and the anus and genital, and voice. So all these are totally active senses, and so make it 23. And finally, Mahatattva is the 24th element in matter, which is when Krishna first creates this energy, material energy, which is called Mahatvatva, undifferentiated. It is just matter. And only through his glance, then it gets activated and three modes appear and then different forms appear. So this is the all the material energies or Prakriti. Okay, next slide. So material nature or Prakriti is a separated energy of the Lord. He said, Binna Prakriti Ashtada. Why is it separated? Because he creates this material nature with the three modes, and then it has no consciousness, but he allows it to function on its own. He is not, I mean, for everything, it's not reporting to Krishna. And so it is separated energy of the Lord. But it is working under his control only. And then the factual Purusha is Sri Vishnu. We are trying to be Purushas in the material world, trying to enjoy this material energy. But the real Purusha is Sri Vishnu. And living beings are actually superior energy of the Lord, because we are the souls. And we are not just matter. We are also, and that is the superior energy of the Lord. Equal in quality, but not quantity with the Lord. So we are very tiny and Krishna is just unlimited. So, but the quality is the same. So that is why living beings are called marginal energy or Tatastha Shakti of the Lord, because we are both matter and spirit together. Okay. Yes. Next slide. So he says that all living things are product of these two energies, material and spiritual. Whatever you see in this world, either the non-living things are material, made up of material energy, and all living things are made up of matter and spirit. So matter develops on the basis of spirit. It's not that spirits comes from matter, because people think that how does birth take place? They think that it's a combination of fertilization takes place is some material concept, and then after that, at a later stage, the spirit comes. But it is not like that. First, the soul enters, and then on the basis of the soul, the body develops. Krishna creates, destroys, and maintains everything. So here he says in 7.6, all created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. So he is the creator as well as the destroyer. Okay, but in the next verse, he says that he is also the maintainer. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior. No, sorry. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So he's also the maintainer, because everything is based on him. He is supporting everything, and he is using the example of how in the pearl necklace, you see all the pearls, but you don't see the thread which is supporting it. Similarly, we see all the planets and so many things in this universe. We don't, actually Krishna is supporting everything, but we cannot see him. So that is a beautiful analogy he uses to see how Krishna is, behind everything. The whole cosmic display that you see, it's all resting on Krishna. Yes, next slide. So verses 8 to 14, he's going to tell us how Krishna is the essence of everything. Not only does he create everything, but he's also the essence or essential principle of everything. Why do some people still not surrender to Krishna? It's because of the deluding potency of the three modes. And how do we go beyond them? Okay. Yes. Next slide. So Krishna, we have to see him in different aspects around us. So he says, taste, I am the taste of water. Not only we know water comes from Krishna, but also what is the essence of water? It is the taste, which quenches our thirst, isn't it? That taste of water which quenches our thirst is Krishna. And then the light of the sun, light and heat, everything, that essence of the sun is the light, and that is Krishna. And he is the mantra Om in the Vedas, because Vedas, what is the essence of Vedas is this chanting of Om. So that is Krishna. And he is sound and ether. And then ability in man. A man's, what do you call, his speciality is the abilities that he has, by which he can be, whatever his greatness is manifested. So that ability is Krishna. Fragrance of the earth. Seeds have no fragrance, but the earth is getting, that is the essence of the earth, right? The fragrance. And that is Krishna. Yeah. Next. So if we see, whenever it's very easy to remember Krishna. Krishna is saying, when you're drinking water and you get the taste, it's quenching your thirst, then you remember, yes, this is Krishna. Every day we see the sun, and then we should think, oh, the light is Krishna. And we see the fragrant things coming from the earth, vegetables, fruits, all these flowers. Then you should think this is Krishna. In this way, we have to, remember Krishna and everything. And heat in fire. That is all. Essence of fire is the heat. That is Krishna. And he is the life of all living things. What is the life in the living thing? It is the Atma, or the soul. And that is also Krishna. That's part of Krishna. And he is the penance of the ascetics. So our tapasvis, they are able to tolerate a lot of, austerities or difficulties. And that ability is Krishna. Ability to tolerate or undergo a lot of penance. And he is the original seed of all existences. And what that is the pradhana, or sum total, the bijam, or the seed of all existences is Krishna. And that seed is actually the sum total of all material elements. We talked of the Mahatattva or Pradhana. So that is Krishna. And he is the intelligence of the intelligent. So in this, okay. Whenever you see someone very intelligent, you should know that this is Krishna. It is Krishna who is manifesting his intelligence. That intelligence is the coming from Krishna. Yes. Next slide. And prowess of the powerful. When we see somebody very powerful, then we get very bewildered. We think, oh, this person, is someone very great. And some people even worship them as, yes. So, and some people even think that they are they are God. And so some yogis show some, yogic mystic powers, and then people worship them as God. But actually, we have to see that anything, when the power of the powerful is actually Krishna, is the strength of the strong, is sex life according to religious principles, which is not, just for, without, avoiding childbirth. That is against religious principles. So that is not Krishna. But when it is done, for the procreation, that is Krishna. Energy for manifesting the three modes is also Krishna. The three modes are coming from his energy. And Krishna is everything. So everything is resting in Krishna, but at the same time, Krishna is independent of everything. So that is the amazing thing, inconceivable principle, that simultaneously one with and different from everything. Krishna is the same time in everything, at the same time he is different. Just like we are also equal to him in quality, but different from him in quantity. Simultaneously one and different. So this is the philosophy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us. Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. That means simultaneously. Achintya means inconceivable. You cannot understand, with our material intelligence, what is this simultaneously one and different. And that is only possible in spiritual things. And he is, even though he is creating all the three modes, he is manifesting the three modes, he is not part of the three modes. He is above the three modes. Okay. Yes. Next slide. So the three gunas which Krishna has created are like ropes. A guna also means in Sanskrit a rope. And how a rope's made? There are different strands of a thread, and they're all woven, bound together, twisted together, and that's how the rope becomes strong. In the same way, the three gunas are also the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are completely binding us to material energy or illusion. So it's very difficult to overcome this divine material energy, because material energy is coming from Krishna. So it is divine. We cannot overcome it on our own. And we cannot trace out the date of origin when we became bound. To overcome illusion, Maya, what do we have to do? Surrender to a controller, Krishna, and very easily go beyond that. And so 7.14, this verse is very important. It says, this Daivihi Esha Gunamayi Mamamaya Duratyeya Mameva ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that is the secret. If we want to overcome Maya, we simply have to surrender to Krishna, and Maya will no longer act on us. Okay. Or illusion. We won't be illusioned. Yes. Next slide. So we see that by surrendering to Krishna, we can easily be liberated. Then why doesn't everyone surrender? So Krishna says in the verses 15 to 23, 4 types of people who do not surrender, 4 types of people who do surrender, and the wise man is the best among them and very dear to Krishna, and less intelligent people go to the Devatas and not Krishna for material gain. Okay. Yes. Next. So 4 types of people who do not surrender to Krishna are materialistic people, engrossed in working hard for money, day and night. All they're thinking of is make more money. At least, and so they are so focused on that, they think it's a waste of time to inquire about anything. They're not interested, to hear about God and so on. Then the they are called mudas, or foolish people. Krishna calls them mudas. And the next set of people are those who are advanced. Dushkritino, he says, Naradhama. They have actually socially and politically, they are developed. Okay, they are very cultured and all that. But they misuse that. They are more interested in poetry, literature, or other, cultural things, not related to Krishna, but averse to religious principles. And then we have another next class of people, impious people who are not interested in surrendering to Krishna. He calls them Maya Pahrita Jnana, or that is, their knowledge has been stolen by illusion. That means they are very educated people. Some of them are scholars, even in Sanskrit scholars and all that. They also know scriptures, they've read it, philosophers, scientists. But under illusion, they only speculate. They don't take the Shastras as it is. They hear that, and yet they speculate and misinterpret the Shastra, and so they don't surrender to Krishna. And then we have the atheists, or people who are against Krishna, and they don't believe in Krishna, so they don't want to surrender. Okay. Then let us see what are the 4 types of people who do surrender to Krishna. Next slide. So in the picture, you can see all the 4 types of people who do not surrender. Yes. Okay, can you go to the next slide? No, previous slide. You skipped a slide, Brinda. Can you go to the previous slide?
Ati, this is the previous slide.
No, this is the one. Okay. So 4 types of people who do surrender to Krishna are Sakama devotees or Karma Mishra devotees. That means Krishna says 4 types of devotees who surrender are Artho, Artharthi, Jignasu. Yeah. The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. So the artha means one who is in distress. That is the example is in the Bhagavatam, we see Gajendra or the elephant. He was in deep trouble because he was fighting with the crocodile in the river. And for years and years, the fight went on because the crocodile had grabbed hold of his foot. And nobody could help him because for so long, none of his friends or his family could, help him. And then finally, because in his previous life, he had been a king who was very pious and devoted to Krishna. And because of some karma, he got an elephant's body. Then he realized about, he remembered about Krishna and he started offering his prayers. So in distress, he turned to Krishna. And then, of course, Krishna came and took him back. So this is during distress, then we think of Krishna. Then the desirer of wealth. The example is of Dhruva, who actually wanted a kingdom. And so he, at that time, he went and meditated on Krishna and got it. Then the inquisitive. Another third type are the example is Shaunaka Rishi in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Suta Goswami was narrating this in the in the beginning of Kali Yuga, all the great sages got together in Naimisaranya, and they wanted to first perform yajna for the benefit of all the people in Kali Yuga. And later, of course, because of the effect of Kali Yuga, the fire was hardly burning brightly; it was full of smoke. So they thought this is not very auspicious, and so they started listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. And this Shaunaka Muni was there and he was very inquisitive to know more and more. So he is the representative of a person who is very inquisitive initially. Actually, the distress and the desire of wealth, if they are sincere, then they start inquiring. They are inquisitive. But if they are not inquisitive, then once they get whatever they want, they leave. Then the Nishkama devotees or Jnana Mishra or Yoga Mishra devotees, that means they don't have any material desire. They are the wise seeking knowledge. They just want to know what is the truth. And the examples are the 4 Kumaras and Sukadeva Goswami. So they are great sages and they just want to advance in spiritual life. And so they were, how the 4 Kumaras, they were just, they thought that, okay, let us go and see Vaikuntha, Narayana, and then they became devotees just by smelling the tulsi on Lord Narayana's lotus feet. So Krishna says, all are magnanimous because they are all approaching Krishna, but the wise one who is free from material desires, he considers him to be the best and dearest to Krishna. So 7.18. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. So everyone can come to this platform. we may start like this, where, we have some problem, or only the pious people even approach him. Those are not pious, even when they have problems, they don't approach Krishna. And so that is why Krishna says, even if they're coming due to distress or because of they want money, but they're coming to me. So he says that they are very magnanimous. Okay, next. Next slide. So the Jnani, or the intelligent person, understands Krishna after many, many births and becomes a Mahatma. So this Jnani who is, looking for the truth, and finally, after many, many births, a yogi or a Jnani takes many births to come to perfection. And so here Krishna says, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. He calls him a Mahatma. A Mahatma understands that Krishna is the cause of all causes. So, so everybody, when they are in touch with a pure devotee is rare, a Mahatma. And only a Mahatma understands him as the cause of all causes. So anybody, any pious person, even who is, desiring wealth or he's in distress, but when he comes and then he develops an inquisitiveness and he gets in touch with the pure devotee, he can also surrender to Krishna. Okay, next slide. So these are all the pious people. Now, there are some people who surrender, but not to Krishna. And who are these? Krishna calls them less intelligent. So, and why do they surrender? He says, text 20, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So they want temporary benefits, that is fine. But there are those who surrender to Krishna for those material fulfillment of material desires. But there are others. Why do they surrender to the devatas? Because of their natures. They worship according to one's nature. Very difficult to approach Krishna because he is pure goodness. So Krishna allows that, and he is saying that I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So Krishna is only providing the faith also to worship the devatas as Paramatma. And he also says, endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So Krishna is only giving the results also, and Krishna is only promoting the faith in the Devata. So why is Krishna allowing this? Because if you go to Krishna, there are some people who are ready to depend on Krishna for material desires. And why don't some people want to go there? Why do they go to the Devatas instead? Because Krishna, when you go to him, he first purifies us and then he gives whatever material, he fulfills material desires, because he doesn't want to want us to fall into illusion and then glide down. He wants us to purify ourselves so that when he fulfills our material desires, it will help us in further elevation. So people who are not ready to, who are not patient, who want immediate results, so then, or who don't have enough knowledge, then because they are overcome with their desires, so they would rather go to the devatas, and Krishna only promotes this faith. So you can see how kind Krishna is. His only aim is to elevate us and take us back home, back to Godhead. Okay, next slide. So the results obtained are temporary. if you worship the Devatas, what is wrong? After all, Krishna says that the Devatas are part of me. So why can't we worship the part? Because, first of all, even though they are parts, you should know which part, like if you take the parts of the body, we have food is put only through the mouth. You cannot put through your eyes or ears and so on. In the same way, even though the Devatas are parts of body of Krishna, Krishna is saying only surrender unto me. So anyway, but those who surrender to the Devatas, the results obtained are temporary, because the Devatas, other than Shiva and Parvati and Ganesha, they're all eternal forms. They don't there. But then other Devatas like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Surya, all these people are, they themselves are not eternal. And so the results obtained are temporary and are finished with their this thing. Also, we are not purified of material desires. When we go to Krishna, we get the purification also, and then he fulfills. Whereas when you go to the Devatas, they just give it to you, and they are not concerned about your further, whether those material desires, they will not, whether that is even good for you, they don't consider that. You go and do some worship, and in return, they're obliged to fulfill. So we don't get purified. And then at death, what happens? We go to the temporary planets of the Devatas. See, we might say that, people are worshipping Devatas also with so much Shraddha, or so much of sincerity. They're worshipping so many things. Then why don't they get the eternal benefit? Because whoever you worship, that is where you go. And the Devatas are not eternal. So we go to the Devatas at death, because whoever you worship, that's where you will go. Whereas Krishna's devotees attain the eternal spiritual planets. Okay, next slide. So verses 24 to 30, then the other type of people who surrender not to Krishna, impersonalists, who surrender to the formless aspect of Krishna, and Krishna calls them unintelligent. And Krishna says he covers himself from them. Pious persons get liberated through devotional service. So when, Krishna covers himself from them, but Krishna can see, he knows everyone. People cannot see him, but Krishna knows everything. But the whole world doesn't know him. And who can get this thing? Only pious persons get liberated through devotional service and determination. And they know Krishna to be the Adi Bhuta, Adi Deva, and Adi Yajna. By taking association of devotees, get knowledge, faith, determination, and devotional service to Krishna, and become liberated. Okay, next slide. So the impersonalists, Krishna says they are without intelligence, because considers that his personality is inferior to personalism. That personality is inferior. That personality is inferior to impersonalism. But Brahma Jyoti, they think that Krishna's form, above Krishna's form is his Brahma Jyoti. That is the supreme. They think like that. And Mayavadis consider his body material. So there's a difference between impersonalists and Mayavadis. Impersonalists, they accept that Krishna's form is transcendental. It is spiritual. But they are saying that the ultimate truth is formlessness. Whereas the Mayavadis, they think that Krishna's, because they think everything is Maya in this world. And so when Krishna takes a form and comes, his body is also Maya. So that is even more offensive. Impersonalists are simply, they worship Krishna, but they want to go and merge with him. So without devotional service, no one can understand him. And Krishna covered by his internal potency to non-devotees. 7.24 and 25. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So because he's coming in a human form, and so they think that this is something less than formlessness. So he's clearly saying that they are unintelligent. And also he says in 25, I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I'm covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I'm unborn and infallible. So why are they not able to understand? Because the devotees can say, yes, Krishna is there. They have full faith. And on the other hand, the impersonalists, they think that even if you show all the quotations in the scriptures, still they will not accept. Why? Because they're covered by his internal potency. So Krishna does not manifest himself to such people. Okay, next slide. Then, so they cannot see him. But does that mean that the internal potency is also covering Krishna's vision, that he is not able to see? So Krishna says in verse 26, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. So we may not know him, but Krishna knows everyone. And not only that, he knows past, present, and future. And so, because he's saying this, we can understand that he's transcendental. Mayavadis think that his body is material. If he was material, then how will he know past, present, and future? Then, under Maya, impersonalists, they think Krishna's body is material. Influenced by selfish desire, wants to be the enjoyer. So this is the reason, because we want to enjoy, and so we don't want to be, serve Krishna. Want him to be the enjoyer and be the servants. We don't want that. We want to also be the enjoyers. And that is why this is envying Krishna. And so when we envy, then what happens? Subject to dualities arising out of envy and hate. Krishna says, O sign of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So he's clearly saying that we are born into delusion, and this envy and hate of Krishna, basically, first starting from him. We don't want to be subordinate to him, or we don't want to think that he's the only enjoyer, and we can enjoy. We are secondary enjoyers, but by giving him pleasure, then we also get pleasure. So that's because of that there is so much of the impersonalists don't want to accept the form of Krishna. So he is, on the one hand, atheistic people and asuras want to directly kill him, and right, like Jarasandha and all that. He was a learned person, he had knowledge, and yet he was so envious of Krishna. 17, 18 times he went and fought with him just to kill Krishna. So, and then impersonalists, they don't physically kill him, try to kill him, but they are killing him mentally by saying that he doesn't have any form. So that is why he's saying it is this, they are overcome by their envy and hatred of Krishna, and because of this, they are subject to dualities of honor, dishonor, misery, happiness. All this is coming because of not surrendering to Krishna. Yes. Next slide. So all living entities are born into delusion, but who are the ones who can surrender to Krishna, engage themselves in service to Krishna? They are the pious who have conquered the sinful reactions and perform devotional service with determination. So this elevation, so pious people also, because they've done a lot of, they've overcome their sinful activities and they've done good, pious activities. But they also get the mercy from a pure devotee. Pure devotee is attracted to give them the mercy. But what about the impious people? In this age, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful that whether you're pious or impious, it doesn't matter. We are ready to take mercy from him. He's ready to give anyone. And he creates our piety. Like Srila Prabhupada, once a devotee asked him, Prabhupada, you say that one who has become a devotee, that means one who's chanting Hare Krishna, must have already done in his previous life so many good activities, like, going and bathing in all the rivers or holy rivers, or given charity, and done a lot of other things, going to religious places. All these things they would have done. Only then a pious person is able to become a devotee. But I don't remember doing anything pious in my life. How did I become a devotee? So Prabhupada said, yes, I created your piety. I created your good fortune. So through devotee association, even a person who doesn't have any pious credit can get that piety. Okay, next. There is a fourth type of Sakama devotee. That means we saw three. Sakama means with material desires. Artho, that is one who has some problem. He wants some solution. Artharthi means one who is wanting money, and then who is inquisitive. A fourth type is, he says, also intelligent people desiring for liberation in Brahman realization, the impulseless, acting as Brahman in Krishna's service, attain spiritual body and become factually liberated. So even the people, initially they want Brahman realization, they come to Krishna, they worship him, but they get purified and they also can go back to Krishna. Yes, the next. So what is the knowledge that we need to have to attain Krishna at death? So the last verse of this chapter, Krishna says, if we have the knowledge that Krishna is the governing principle of the material manifestation, or the Adibhuta, everything that you see manifested, that Krishna is the cause of all that. And he is also the cause of the Devatas, Adi Daiva. Okay, and then all methods of sacrifice, he's the Adi Yajna, he's the enjoyer of all the sacrifices. If we know these three things, that he is the governing principle of all these three things, then we can attain him even at the time of death. Okay, so all these concepts will be explained more clearly in the next chapter. Always we'll see that the last verse is a kind of a introduction to the next chapter. So we saw how we can become fully Krishna conscious by seeing, by knowing more about Krishna, how to see him in the material world, how to know more about him, and so on. And for this, we need devotee association. Only through that we get, Ado Shraddha. We should have a little faith, and that will help us to associate with devotees. And Ado Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha. Then the third thing is Bhajana Kriya. Because of Sadhu Sangha or associating with devotees, we also engage in chanting and worshipping and so on. And from there, Anartha Nivritti, all unwanted things go away, and we develop Nishtha, steadiness in worshipping Krishna, like this. And then from there, we get Ashakti, we get attachment to Krishna. Then we get first Ruchi, we get a taste in devotional service. Then we become attached to Krishna, Ashakti. Then we get spiritual emotions, Bhava. And finally, we get love. So this is a step-by-step scientific method. Yeah, next slide. So this verse for today is Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Man Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So after many births and deaths, he who's actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So we'll recite it 2 times. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Okay, next slide. So this Panchatattva mantra and the Hare Krishna mantra, I want to share with you because we have to, as you see, Krishna is constantly telling us how we need to surrender to him. And through that, we get everything. I mean, even if you have material desires, the person you need to surrender to is Krishna. And that way, you get everything. You make, not only, I mean, you first, you get the shelter of Krishna, and he's saying everything is existing on me. So you are most intelligent if you surrender directly to me instead of indirect ways. So, and the best method is he himself has come, Krishna, and taught us this mantra as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Panchatattva mantra is, you can see the Panchatattva there. First, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. You have to chant this 3 times at least before you chant the Hare Krishna mantra, because by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we will be able to chant Hare Krishna very easily and will be able to get a taste to chant the mantra only by their mercy. So let us chant 3 times. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Have any of you started, those who are first timers, have you started chanting, tried chanting this mantra? Let me know on chat if anybody has, and what is your, I mean, yes, oh, that's very nice. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Oh, very nice. I hope, you know, you're able to. Okay, what's the question? There are 10. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for. Just now I will chant. Okay. Very nice. Oh, 16 rounds. Very nice. Okay, good. Okay. Now, let me see some question was there. What was the question? There are 10 avatars of Vishnu, but in Mahamantra, why do we include only Rama? Because this is, you know, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his first expansion is Balarama. So he's like the Adi Guru. Okay, he is because only by approaching him we get Krishna's mercy. And even though he is also like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's no difference between Krishna and Balarama in one sense. But and the only difference is Balarama is white in color and Krishna is dark in color. And the dress they wear, Balarama wears blue cloth and Krishna wears yellow. But all other expansions come from Balarama. So that is why we address both Krishna and Balarama. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have one question, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, this Maya is the energy of Krishna.
Yes, material energy. Yes.
Yes, Mataji. So it is creating some kind of illusion, and because of that illusion, we are not able to surrender to Krishna, or we are not able to know Krishna.
Yes.
And we have to take many births and finally overcome the Maya, and then only we can reach Krishna. So my question is, Mataji, why Bhagavan has created Maya? If there is no Maya, we would have reached him very early. And because of this Maya only, we are getting into this material, these things, and unable to reach God in very early stage. Like thousands of births we are taking. So instead of that, maybe in 100 births, we would have reached Krishna.
See, Krishna knows as Paramatma, and he knows. Okay, just a minute. How can I more often be associated with devotees? So you please attend these Bhagavad Gita sessions, and then at the end I'll let you know how you can continue depending on where you are located. And we will be also having more courses. So like this, devotees are everywhere, and you can continue having. Okay, so prayer today is Akila's birthday. Her mother requested. Okay, all right. We'll pray for her. And then Nishkam Karma is devotional service. Okay, so what was the question? Maya. Why is Krishna this thing? I will explain. So why is Krishna having this 3 modes of material nature? I mean, why should he want to cover us? It's because we desired it. We want to feel that we are separate enjoyers. That is why he has created it. And if we, and he's also coming along with us. He's just not abandoned us and said, okay, you want to enjoy, go and enjoy. He's coming with us and he's watching over us, waiting for the moment, arranging so many things. While fulfilling our desires, he's also making us frustrated with this material world and understand you can never be happy over here. And in this way, that's the reason. And Krishna knows, he's the Paramatma, he's right next to us. He knows when we are ready to surrender to him, then he, makes all arrangements for it. So we have to blame ourselves that we have not been ready to surrender to him or to serve him. So the minute we are ready, then we can be sure that Krishna is going to make all arrangements to take us back to him. So that is why, of course, until we actually go back to him, Maya will keep on testing us. And that is just to make us strong. She wants us to, she wants to be sure that we're really sincere about going back to Krishna. So that is why from our side, what we need to do is become very, very sincere so that we can overcome Maya very easily. Okay, and that's why association of devotees is so important, because that gives us the strength.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I have a question related to Balarama's role in Mahabharata. Is this the right time to discuss, or should I ask this offline?
Yeah, you can ask, but let me see. Other questions which came before. Since all three modes of nature binds us, even goodness. So what should be the nature of a devotee? Because goodness helps us to do bhakti. Yes, we have to first come to the platform of goodness. Then only we can do bhakti easily. When we are in the mode of passion, then there is a lot of disturbances which prevent us from rendering service. So it is a fact. Goodness also helps. But it doesn't mean that if you have mode of goodness, you'll become a devotee. There are many people who are in the mode of goodness, but they just want to be like that, very peaceful, harmless, do good for others, and all that, but they don't want to worship. So, but while we are progressing in our bhakti, we should elevate ourselves to the mode of goodness. Then very easily we can do bhakti. Okay, then yes, Akila's birthday, will come to that. Nishkam karma is devotional service. Nishkam karma need not be devotional service, because even the impulseless can do work without attachment to results. But a devotee also can do like that. A devotee also progresses in his karma yoga. Initially, he is attached to his results. A little bit he may give Krishna, and then more and more he gets purified. Then he is not so attached to the results at all. So a devotee can also do, should do also Nishkam karma yoga. Okay. Then what explanation of the Panchatattva Mahamantra? So the Panchatattva Mahamantra is the names of all the 5 aspects of the absolute truth. Krishna himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then his direct expansion, Balarama, is come as Nityananda. Then his incarnation is Advaita Acharya. Then his his energies on the Gadadhar, and then Srivas is his devotee. So all these 5 aspects, Panchatattva, are indicate the supreme absolute truth, and they have come in this Kali Yuga, and they are very, very merciful. Panchatattva, just by worshipping, because normally worshipping Krishna is very difficult. You have to be very pure and follow so many rules and all that. But for Panchatattva, they don't. They are very, very merciful. So if you just have a photo and simple worship is okay, but you can make great progress. And that is why when you're chanting, you always get blessings from them, and then chant Hare Krishna, and you'll find that your chanting goes very nicely, smoothly. Okay. Damodar Prabhu's daughter's name is what? Akila is. What is Damodar Prabhu's daughter's name?
No, Mataji. Today is actually Damodar Ganpati Prabhu's birthday.
Oh, acha. Okay. Yeah. Prabhu's birthday. Okay, I thought it. Just one more question I will answer. That is what? You didn't.
Mataji.
Summary of today's chapter, I didn't put it in points like yesterday. But we saw how Krishna is explaining about material and spiritual energies, so that by hearing more about him, then we can remember him and meditate upon him. And he talks about the 8 separated energies, which is earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And it is called the Apara Shakti. Yeah, what? And besides that, he says, is the higher energy, superior energy, which is the living entities. And Krishna is the controller of both material and spiritual energies. And then we saw how to get out of Maya by surrendering to Krishna. This material energy is very difficult to overcome, but by surrendering to him, we can get beyond that. And we saw how to see Krishna in the material energy. He talked about he's the essence of everything, the principle of all the things. Like he said, okay, when you taste in water, heat in the light of the sun, and then the Om in the Vedas, and ability in man, intelligence of the intelligent, power of the powerful, strength of the strong. Like this, essential principles is the essence of everything. So when you see that, you can think about Krishna, and in this way, you can remember him. And then he talked about why, how there is no truth. He is the creator and the destroyer of all the material things, material and spiritual. Sorry. And he's the origin of everything, and also the maintainer. And in spite of all this, some people don't surrender to him. And what is the reason? Because of the three modes of material nature, which bewilders everyone. And so Krishna is the creator of the three modes, but he's above that. And he says, this divine energy, this material energy is very difficult to overcome. You cannot do on your own. The jnanis and the yogis are taking how many births? They're constantly falling down because of Maya. It's very difficult. But if you surrender to me, you can easily cross. So Bhakti Yoga is the best, just because Krishna himself is helping us to overcome the modes. And then, but the four types of people who don't surrender to Krishna, knowing all this, we should take shelter of Krishna and surrender to him. But there are four types of people who don't surrender to him, we saw, and four types of people who do surrender to him. And then there are others who surrender, but not to Krishna. And that is those who surrender to the Devatas, or who take shelter of the impersonal feature of Krishna. And he says that actually, I'm the one who is actually making as a Paramatma, because Krishna is the Paramatma in our hearts, and he knows. Suppose somebody is, wanting some fulfillment of material desires very much, and which Krishna himself may not award it. So he makes their faith strong in a particular Devata who fulfills their desires, and that the fulfillment also is coming through sanction of Krishna only. So, and then for the impulseless, he says they are unintelligent. At least for the Devata worshippers, he says less intelligent. But for as far as impulseless are concerned, he says unintelligent men. How they consider that his personality, because they can't understand that Krishna can be a person, because he is covered by his internal potency, and so they cannot understand him. And because of the envy, and they are overcome. Krishna doesn't manifest before them. And Krishna says how he knows everything, what has happened in the past, present, and future, but him no one knows. And everybody is covered due to this delusion. And who can know him? Only the pious people who have overcome all their sinful activities, and they are freed from the delusion. They engage themselves in devotional service with determination. And so also the people who are looking for Brahman realization, the impulseless, if they start doing devotional service in order to achieve that, they're coming with that motive, but by rendering service to Krishna, they can also go back to the Godhead. And he says that one at the time of death, if they understand that Krishna is the cause of the material manifestation of all the devatas, as well as he's the enjoyer of all the sacrifices, then they can go back to him. They can attain Krishna. Okay? Then the important verses are all the verses that I mentioned in the, okay, anyway, I'll tell you. Rasop. So, okay, text 4. Bhumi rapo nalo vayuhu kam mano buddhirevacha ahankaram iti amme bhinna prakritir ashtada. So 7.4, then also 7.5, Then text 7, 7.7. Then 7.8. 7.14, 7.15, then 16, 19, and 19 and okay, 6 point also 27. Okay, and 28 also. So you can learn these verses so that it will help you to understand, and remember the concepts. Is that okay? Okay, now that's it. No, so only this is obvious. Krishna is intelligence of intelligence. So only if Krishna is not there, person is unintelligent, and hence they aspire for Brahma Jyoti. Yes, nice comment. How Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita documented and shared till now, as there were no paper at that time. It's all written 5,000 years ago. Not on paper. Vedas wrote it on this thing, on leaf. We have that. And then after that, it was documented on paper. Why did Balarama not fight in Kurukshetra along the side of Dharma? Because, this is Krishna's mercy that he was supporting the Pandavas. He also wanted to give a chance to the, the party of Duryodhana. So Balarama was always favoring them. He liked, he used to like Duryodhana and so on. But Balarama, he didn't want to take part because he knew their side was adharma. That's why he wanted to be neutral and go away. Okay. All right. So now we will. Why Lord Krishna worships Lord Shiva while going to kill asuras and bring Parijata Vriksha for Rukmini Devi? What is that? Why Lord Krishna worships Lord Shiva while going to kill asuras? Yeah, because many of these asuras, they worship Lord Shiva for boons. So they're devotees of Lord Shiva. So he doesn't want to, insult Lord Shiva, or he doesn't want to hurt him. Of course, Shiva is not a competitor of Krishna, and he's doing it only as a service for Krishna, because to elevate them to Krishna, as a, he just takes this worship so that he can make them progress further and send them to Krishna. But still, Krishna, he wants to respect Shiva, that, okay, I'm going to, kill your devotee. And so he worships him. And then bring Parijata Vriksha for Rukmini Devi. Yeah, because she wanted it. Actually, he got it for Satyabhama from the Indraloka. Because it's very, very fragrant, Parijata flower. So they wanted, desire to have. Okay. So, yeah, let us sing for Akila. Akila is here?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, Akila, come on this thing video. So we'll sing for you, all of us.
Thank you, Mataji. 1 second.
Mataji, we'll include Damodar also.
No, we'll sing separately.
Okay.
I'm remembering. I just want to finish. First do for Akila and then Okay, she is yet to come. Then we'll sing for Damodar Prabhu. Okay. Oh, there she is. Okay, I'll do for
Okay, Mataji. Hare
that
Krishna.
is Akila. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Akila. Hare Krishna to you. May Krishna bless you, dear. Krishna bless you, dear. May Krishna bless you, dear. Hare Krishna to you.
Hare Krishna,
Wish
Mataji.
you all the best, Akila. May you have a wonderful life ahead, and may Krishna's blessings be always upon you. And were you also listening to the Bhagavad Gita? No? Okay.
Yes,
Anyway.
Mataji, I'm listening from Saturday. But
Uh-huh.
if I have meetings, I will try to listen with my mother. I ask my mother.
Hello.
Okay, Akila. Okay, you can also start chanting Hare Krishna mantra every day, few times. Can you do that? As soon as you get up, you can do that, Akila.
Mataji, please repeat it. I am not able to hear anything.
Oh, not able to hear. No,
No.
I'm saying that. Can you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, a few times, after in the morning, as soon as
Yes,
you get up?
Mataji.
Yes. Okay,
Yes,
very
Mataji.
nice.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
I am doing it from past 9 to 10 years actually.
Oh, Akila, acha, you're doing that. Oh, wonderful. Very nice.
One of my teacher was from ISKCON. We had a separate class from ISKCON teachers. So they would come to my school and actually teach me few Bhagavad Gita shlokas, and they would explain me about compassion, truthfulness, beliefs, stuff like that. And I was a devotee because of them.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Very good. Okay. Damodar Prabhu, we will
Thank
sing.
you, Mataji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Damodar Dhanapati Prabhu. Hare Krishna to you. May Krishna bless you, dear. May Krishna bless you, dear. May Krishna bless you, dear. Hare Krishna to you.
Hare Krishna to you.
Thank
Very
you,
nice
Mataji.
with your family.
Yeah,
And
yes, Madhav.
so we all pray very nice, sincerely for you. Was such a wonderful devotee, doing so many services, very humble and very sincere. And may Krishna shower you and your family with all happiness and progress in spiritual life.
Thank you,
And
Mataji.
Hare
This is Hiranvida.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Oh,
Hiranvida.
you're grown up. Huh?
Hiranvida, Mataji.
Ah, yeah.
We know the name. Hiranvida.
Very good. Nice.
She's in 8th class now.
Oh, very nice. You were so small then.
Yes, Mataji.
And what's your son's name?
Madhav, Nishant Madhav. Son's name is Nishant Madhav, Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Ashray Prabhu, you wanted to say something? You came on video.
No, Mataji, no, Mataji. Just, I don't know how it took off. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, thanks. It was fantastic. It was very nice class, very nice seminar, Mataji. We're all enjoying it.
Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. We'll stop now. Srila Gurudev ki jai.